It is 4 in the morning on the Trans-Siberian Railway, somewhere east of Krasnoyarsk. Outside the window, the birch forest is dark and the temperature is well below freezing. Inside wagon number 7, a Provodnitsa is filling the samovar. She has been on this train for 4 days. She has 3 more to go before she reaches Vladivostok, steps off, and waits for the return service to Moscow. She does not know exactly what time it is, not because she has lost track, because the train runs on Moscow time. The clock above the samovar says 4:07 in the morning. Outside, in the time zone the train is currently crossing, it is 11 minutes past 9. In Vladivostok, where the train is headed, it is already past midnight tomorrow. The samovar does not care about any of this. It needs to be full of boiling water by the time the first passenger wakes up. That is her problem to solve, whatever the clock says. So here is the question. Almost nobody thinks to ask about the world's longest train journey. What does it actually take to live on a train for 6 days straight while running it for someone else? The answer is more specific and more revealing than most people expect. Here is where it starts. The Trans-Siberian Railway runs 5,771 miles between Moscow's Yaroslavsky station and Vladivostok on the Pacific coast. The Rossiya, train number 1, the flagship service, covers that distance in approximately 147 hours, crossing 8 time zones and passing through or near 90 cities and towns. It is the longest continuous rail journey in the world. And for the entire duration of that journey, each of its passenger carriages is the personal domain of 2 people, a provodnik or Provodnitsa, the Russian word for carriage attendant, male and female respectively. Their den, a small service compartment at the end of the carriage, is both their office and their bedroom for the duration of the run. It is not large. It contains a fold-down bunk, space for their personal belongings, and enough room to turn around. Everything beyond that compartment, the corridor, the 16 or more sleeping berths, the 2 toilets at each end, and the samovar that sits beside the service compartment door, is their responsibility. The duties are specific and continuous. At every station stop, they open the heavy exterior door, lower the steps, and stand on the platform to check tickets and assist boarding passengers. Between stops, they vacuum the corridor and each occupied compartment, clean the toilets, distribute bedding to new passengers and collect it from departing ones, sell tea and snacks, and monitor the welfare of everyone in their car. A Provodnitsa who has been doing this route for years knows which passengers are likely to miss a stop, which ones will need a wake-up call before a departure, and which ones should be watched carefully around the vodka. Before the train left Moscow, she packed enough food for a week. Not because the restaurant car is unavailable, it is 3 carriages forward, but because a Provodnitsa on a 6-day run learns quickly that the restaurant car operates on its own schedule, which does not always align with hers. Her compartment contains a small folding table where she can eat during the brief windows between tasks. On the shelf above her bunk, a tin of tea she prefers over what the train stocks, a jar of something her mother made, and a notebook with the departure and arrival times for every stop on this route written in her own handwriting, not because she has forgotten them, but because writing them down once, years ago, made her feel in control of a schedule that the railroad sets and the weather revises. For the Provodnitsa, the carriage is hers in a way that no hotel room ever is for a hotel worker. She knows which berth has a window that sticks in cold weather. She knows the toilet in car 7 takes longer to flush at altitude. She knows that the couple in compartment 4 will want tea at exactly 7 a.m. because they have been on this route before and they told her so at boarding. And she remembered because that is the kind of thing she remembers. The carriages on Russian railways are often old, but they are well maintained because she maintains them. 2 attendants per carriage is not a staffing luxury. It is a mathematical necessity. The Trans-Siberian in full does not stop for the night. It does not pull into a terminal where the crew can go to a hotel. The train keeps moving through the dark, through time zones, through the kind of Siberian winter that makes the temperature outside drop below the temperature inside a standard freezer. Someone has to be awake when the train stops at 3 in the morning in a town with a population of 4,000 people and a stop duration of 2 minutes. Someone has to be standing on that platform, in that cold, watching the door. The two attendants divide the hours between them. When one is on duty, the other is in the den at the end of the carriage, theoretically resting. Theoretically, because the train does not produce quiet sleep. The joints in the track produce a rhythmic percussion that experienced travelers learn to find soothing. New passengers find it keeps them awake. The Provodnitsa has been hearing it for years and has stopped noticing it, which is a form of adaptation that costs something. She eats when she can. Her meals come from what she has brought aboard, or from the restaurant car, which is 3 carriages forward and requires navigating the gaps between cars while the train is moving, in whatever the weather has produced. At station stops long enough to permit it, she steps onto the platform like her passengers, buys something from the vendors selling pierogi and smoked fish, and returns before the train leaves. She knows exactly how long each stop is. She is the one who tells everyone else. The samovar does not sleep either. Every carriage on the Trans-Siberian has a samovar. It is not decorative. It is, in practical terms, the most important piece of equipment on the train for most of the passengers aboard. The samovar produces boiling water continuously, and boiling water is what sustains the passengers of a train with no dining car for long stretches and no ability to stop at a restaurant. Instant noodles, instant soup, tea, coffee, oatmeal, all of it depends on the samovar. For passengers traveling third-class Platskart, where 54 bunks share an open carriage and the restaurant car is an expense that adds up over 6 days, the samovar is the kitchen. Keeping it running is the Provodnitsa's job. It requires coal or diesel fuel, depending on the carriage's heating system, and it requires her attention through the night. A samovar that goes cold at 2 in the morning is a samovar that takes time to reheat, and a passenger who wakes up at 6 expecting hot water for his tea will notice immediately if it is not ready. The Provodnitsa who lets the samovar go cold is not doing her job. In the economy of the Trans-Siberian carriage, where her authority over her domain is absolute and her reputation travels with the train, this matters. Beside the samovar, there is a clock. It shows Moscow time, which is the official time of Russian railways across the entire network, regardless of where the train actually is. A passenger who wakes up and reads that clock is reading a time that may be 6, 7, or 8 hours behind the local time outside the window. The Provodnitsa has learned to exist in both times simultaneously. She knows what Moscow time says the schedule requires, and she knows what the darkness outside tells her about where the sun actually is. Then there are the time zones. If you are finding this useful, hit subscribe. We cover stories like this every week. The Trans-Siberian crosses 8 time zones between Moscow and Vladivostok. For a passenger who boards in Moscow and rides to the end, this means that by the time the train arrives, the local time is 7 hours ahead of where they started. The journey takes 6 days, and those 6 days include a slow drift eastward through time that most passengers experience as a gradual dissociation. Meals that arrive at the wrong hour, darkness that falls too early or too late, a body that is not quite caught up to where the train has taken it. For the Provodnitsa, this dissociation is compounded by the shift structure. She may sleep from noon to 6 in the Moscow time afternoon, which is the middle of the night in the time zone she is crossing. She may be on duty at what her body insists is 3 in the morning, serving tea to passengers who have decided it is midday because the sun outside agrees with them. The train's official schedule is written in Moscow time, and that is the time the Provodnitsa works by. But her passengers are increasingly operating on local time as the journey progresses. This is not a complaint that Provodnitsa make publicly. It is simply the condition of the job, as it has been since the first regular service ran the full length of the line. You adapt to the train's rhythm, which is neither Moscow time nor local time, but the rhythm of departure and arrival, of the samovar and the platform and the stations that come in whatever order the line has always dictated. After enough runs, the Provodnitsa stops measuring her day by the clock and starts measuring it by the work. Bedding distributed, corridor vacuumed, passengers settled, samovar full. She has been doing this since before most of her passengers had ever heard of the Trans-Siberian Railway. The Trans-Siberian Railway opened its first through service in 1903, 12 years after construction began under Tsar Alexander III. The Provodnitsa as a role predates the Soviet Union, survived it, and continues in its essential form today. The specific uniform has changed. The railway system has changed ownership and name. The carriages have been updated, though some still carry the industrial aesthetic of Soviet-era manufacture. The den at the end of the carriage has not changed in any way that matters. It is still a small room at the end of a wagon on a train that takes 6 days to cross Russia, and the person in it is still responsible for everything that happens in the 40-odd meters of rolling stock behind her door. What has changed is that the passengers are more varied than they once were. The Trans-Siberian carries Russian workers traveling between cities, families making journeys of a few hundred miles, and tourists from Europe and Asia who have come specifically for the experience of the world's longest rail journey. The Provodnitsa manages all of them from the same compartment, with the same samovar, on the same schedule. A German tourist who does not speak Russian and wants to know how long the stop in Irkutsk will last gets the same answer as a Russian grandmother who has made this journey a dozen times. However many fingers the Provodnitsa holds up, and a look that communicates precisely what she thinks of the question. Her carriage is her country. She rules it with complete authority for the duration of the run. Earlier in this series, this channel covered the California Zephyr, Amtrak's 51-hour, 2,438-mile service between Chicago and Emeryville, California. The sleeping car attendant on that train boards in Chicago and stays aboard until the end of the line. She has 4 hours of sleep guaranteed by her union contract. Federal law does not require more. The video described that arrangement as unusual because most people do not expect the person making their bed to have been on the train longer than they have. Put that next to the Trans-Siberian. The California Zephyr attendant works 51 hours. The Provodnitsa works 147. The Zephyr crosses 2 time zones. The Trans-Siberian crosses 8. The Zephyr's attendant has a union contract with a 4-hour sleep guarantee. The Provodnitsa has a shift partner and a den at the end of the carriage. The Zephyr runs through the American West, which is scenic and occasionally spectacular. The Trans-Siberian runs through Siberia, which is not so much scenic as infinite. Birch forest for 1,000 miles, then more birch forest. The landscape so vast and so continuous that passengers stop trying to register it as a view and start experiencing it as a condition.